I wanted to show you this artist, Tom Hagamat, and I wanted to show you how I would do a value study of his work. I'm going to use really simple software. I'm going to use Preview in Apple or Mac. I'm going to take you through this process that I tend to do. So when I go to Instagram and I want to check something out, I am going to take a screenshot. Let's just Command Shift 4 and then drag out a box. When I take anything from Instagram, I try to take the information of the image so I know where it came from. And that will show up on my desktop. When I double click it, it opens right in Preview, and we can edit this. To crop it, you have to start with marking up the image, and that's in the toolbar right here. And with markup, you get tools to do your work. So the first thing I'm going to click is this rectangular selection tool. And I'm going to drag it to the ends of the image. And then I'm going to press this button crop. And that crops the image for me. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it black and white. To do this in Preview, this button that looks like a little bit of a pyramid, it's color, just color, and turn your saturation down to 0. And there you go, you got your black and white image. What I like to do at this point is take my sharpness and pull it all the way down to 0. So there's no sharpness at all. So that blurs the image a little bit. And I start to see my value scale in terms of 5 values. So if you were to analyze this image right now, you would see the snow lighter area is a 1, and so is the sky. Here, 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 here. You see the 2 as being most of this sky, the darker part of the sky is a 2. And you might see the 2s somewhere else, maybe in the figure's face. You see the 3 as being here and here. You see the 4 as being this mountain range behind the figure. And then you see the 5 in these elements that are the trees, the person. If your image isn't blurry enough so that you see too many details, you can do this practice next. You can go take your image and pinch it so that it's really small, and then screenshot it as small as you can or small as you think is necessary. And then pull up that image, see what that looks like. So this is this new image I just made. And we're just going to get it to look bigger. And you can see this one, it's even more clear where my 5-step values are. All right. So for this one, it's very degraded, very pixelized, but I can really see my 1s, my 2s, my 3s, my 4s, and then my 5s. Very simple. So the next step is changing this from a digital image into a painted image. And we are experimenting with gouache and acrylic and watercolor. And the processes for these are similar, especially in this next step. So watch what I do. So the next thing is I want to analyze each part of this image really carefully. So I'm going to use a tiling technique. And to do tiling, I am going to mark up this image so that it has a grid on it. I like a 4-part grid with 4 quadrants. So that's what I'm going to do here. So to do a grid that's even, I put out a rectangle, and these little dots represents the middle of each one of those areas. And I draw a line from the top to the bottom, and then I center them between those points to get an even dimension. And then I can go to my painted image. Now, how big is this painted image going to be? Well, let's find out. So in this case, we go to this tool. Somehow I might go to this tool right here, which is the image dimensions. And this size, this image is 2.8 by 2.85. So it's almost a square, but that's a little small for me painting. So I'm going to make it 4 by 4. So it's just 4 inches by 4 inches. Okay, so the next thing is to take these dimensions that I got and put them on the page. So it's wide, it's 4 inches. And the height is 4.02. So we're just going to make it a little more than 4. Okay, so to do a compositional study in black and white, I like to start with putting down my background first before I do all the other values. And I like to look at my reference to see what value I would like to paint the whole background. So on my screen, I have my value scale and I have my whole painting. And what I notice is I'm going to start this painting off at a 2, because when I look at it, there's a lot of 2 in this image. It's probably a good half the image is a 2. And then the rest of it is a little darker or a little bit lighter. So that's what I'm going to do first. So just putting in that base value first. What's nice about that is then I can go darker or lighter just depending on, what is in that box. So I'm going to do that. Now I'm mixing up a 2 value. I'm going to paint the entire background that value. Test to see if your 2 is the same value. Now grid up your composition into the 4 quadrants. And now I'm going to do something to make it even easier for me to paint this. So I'm going to take my digital image and I'm going to rotate it upside down. So the next thing I'm going to do is mix up my value scale. And I want 5 values on my palette. So I already have 1 and 2. So I'm going to mix up a 3. Mix up a 4, and then black is 5. All right, so now I'm going to grab a brush. I'm going to grab just a round brush. And I'm going to block off these areas that I'm not painting. So you can try this technique. So what I do is I use little empty screenshots and I cover everything up. And this helps me just focus on whatever I'm painting. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to try to show this on camera, is that I'm going to paint, and I'm just going to be focused on this one box. Even though I thought the trees were mostly 5, they do have areas that are 4s in them. I have a lot of this. I have a little white. I think what I'm going to do is start putting the white areas in first and then over painting the trees. So that's what I'm going to do. Then now I'm going to go think about the fours. Fives. I'm going to go to the next box. Taking those trees. Moving on to the third box. And down to the last. I'd go back after this part and put more details in, especially that little dog that is standing next to the figure and other things that I've missed in this process.